Welcome to another episode of Behind the Business presented by Gore Mutual. I'm your host, Ian McLean, President and CEO of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. This podcast is recorded on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. Each week I sit down for candid conversations where we go beyond the boardroom and behind the business to uncover the real stories of Waterloo Region's business community. Well, today we're sitting down with Amy Ballantyne, an executive life coach, two-time TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and the host of the podcast, Power to the People Pleasers. Amy works with leaders and teams across Canada to strengthen emotional intelligence, build resilience, and create workplaces where wellness and worthiness are not just buzzwords. They're part of the culture. We talked to her about her personal journey into coaching, the lessons she's learned from both success and failure, and why she believes compassion and confidence are the future of leadership. Get ready for an inspiring, energetic conversation about mindset, business, and what it really means to live. As Amy puts it, an awesome life. Join me in the episode as we go behind the business with Amy Ballantyne. Well, Amy, before the TEDx stages and the coaching practice you lead today, take us back to the beginning. What did your early career look like, and how did that path evolve into the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, I worked in higher education for a few years, and a primary focus of that job was mentoring student leaders. Mm-hmm. So I was already doing these similar kind of behaviors of asking maybe some tough questions when they needed to hear that, giving them space for accountability and guidance. And then I moved into working for a corporate training and team building company. And as you can imagine, this is where we were supporting companies to improve their communication, their teamwork, their camaraderie, their ability to work through difficult challenges together. And in addition to that, I also started my own business through a product partner called USANA Health Sciences, where I began doing wellness coaching. And that was the biggest starting point of the coaching side of things, is helping people to make wellness more of a priority in their life.
Just in that coaching, is it focused on the full array of things like mental, physical? So I mean, there's all kinds of, when we say wellness, it can be work-life balance, it could be, your exercise regime. Is it all of those things, or any of the above?
Yes, it was all of those things. I believe in the whole person coaching approach. So I always am led by the client. So what the client wants to start talking about first is where we begin. But it's kind of why I call it wellness, because there are so many pieces of the puzzle for us to feel great. And it is important that we're talking about each of those pieces and ensuring that we're moving the needle in all of them. Some people have exercise down pat, right? Mm-hmm. But it might be their nutrition or their stress management that's the problem. So I've always taken the holistic approach to supporting individuals.
Well, that leads, in terms of coaching, I think more in the sports part, but coaching begins with personal transformation. So someone's got to, make a decision to do something. So what inspired you to start this journey of helping others unlock their own potential? Like, you were in sort of the space, but what was the kind of like the light went on, or the aha, saying that's what I want to do? When did that happen, or what shifted so that was you determined that was the direction that you wanted to go down?
I always knew that I was going to help people in some way with their wellness. And I actually believe that our wellness is greatly linked to our work life and our home life. So it's all encompassing for me. And that early decision actually was decades ago when I was a really young girl. My mom actually lost both of her parents before she was 10. So when I was a little girl, I heard about these people I would never have a relationship with. And the biggest message that I took away from that really young time was they didn't take care of themselves. That's how she would explain it to me, And so that message has been playing in me for all of my life of I want to take care of myself so that I can live long enough so I might one day know my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, if I'm fortunate enough to have that. And that has spurred on a lot of my choices, why I went to Laurier for kinesiology, why I got involved with a wellness company. There are all of these pieces of the puzzle that have come together because I know that I'm meant to help people in that aspect of their life with their wellness.
So you often talk about living an awesome life, and I love that because that sounds like fun. If you're saying living an awesome life, how do you define that for people that you coach? Because I mean that would strike me as being beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and an awesome life is really individual to the person that's making that evaluation. So how do you define that as you coach someone? And what does that, I mean, maybe the place to start, what does that look like for you? What's an awesome life for you? Because it's not going to be the same for anyone else.
Ian, you are taking the words right out of my
Jeez,
mouth.
I shouldn't have done that.
So good. Well, I think one of the things that sets me apart as a coach actually is that I don't believe that I have the answers for you for your awesome life. I would want to hear what awesome means to you. What are all the pieces of your awesome life and how does that show up for you? For me, only in my model of reality, an awesome life means spending time with my husband, especially he's big into baseball, so making sure that I'm there to cheer him on when he's coaching on the side, and my kids are both into my older two are both into rep baseball and softball, and my youngest is a competitive dancer. So we're always busy and into sports, as you talked about being into sports. And for me, it's designing a life where I am the one that's making the choices to go for a walk if that's what's needed in my life. I'm making healthy decisions around what we're eating 80% of the time, right? And I really live by this idea that I don't want to have regrets. Obviously, we all do. We have places where we've made mistakes. Our biggest learning moments come from those. But I'm constantly thinking about what can I be doing to grow and improve myself so that I can have the awesome life that I desire. And that, again, is my version of the awesome life.
Well, and I think that's important. Like family, sports, making time for the things that are important to you and not being, put in the position of saying you gotta compromise one for the other. And I guess that's where the home and work. I don't know how you have an awesome life without, for most of us, we have to make a living.
Yeah.
And so you spend more time on it most days in your work life than you do with your family or your kids, so it really is a choice. And so making the choice is, I mean, but that's a discipline that I think what I hear you saying is that's your the way you portray it, but asking the questions so people come to their own conclusions is really important.
And can I add to that? The idea that, when we think about balance, being our time is not equal. That's where a lot of people get hung up, that they're wishing and hoping for balance in that there's an equality in time at home and at work. But that's why I believe some people are getting so stuck in this, I can't possibly have balance because I work so much. And so I like to turn it around in the way that I teach on balance is a feeling, not your work life and your home life being equal. It's a feeling. So when you go on vacation, Ian, what are the positive feelings that you feel when you're on vacation?
Yeah. Well, I just came back from 3 weeks, and I for me, it was I didn't care what we were doing because I was with my daughter. And I just said we explored New Zealand and Australia and had 3 weeks with my 22-year-old, which God bless. I mean, it was a miracle. But for me, it wasn't about what we did.
Yeah.
And frankly, I would have taken the 3 weeks, whether it was Australia, New Zealand, or Chicago or Toronto. It was just spending that time. And I mean, I think that's an important one of not wishing to be somewhere else or wishing for something that you may not be able to. It for me, that it's more about the people I'm with and the time that I spend at work. That to me is the work-life balance. Is I love what I do, so work isn't something I kind of don't want to spend time doing. But, it wasn't always that way.
And so what are the feelings that came up for you when you were with your daughter, the feelings that you had when you were there?
Well, I've always spent a lot of time with them coaching and doing those things and doing those things. And I don't get to do that anymore. So I was like, this is just having that time where, and it's an adult relationship. For me, it's different. I mean, people that have younger kids, it's like we traveled and we went to Australia, went out New Zealand, traveled back to Australia for 3 weeks. And I was like the kid. I was like, well, what time do we leave for the airport tomorrow, Hannah?
Yeah.
How do we get there? And for me, it was just like, it was so nice to be with her. But it was also, and one of the things that I loved about it was I was not in charge. I was not the CEO. I was like,
so
I paid a few bills, but I was like, you tell me what we're doing, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so you had some time to be childlike.
Yeah.
You had some time to be curious, right? These moments of connection and love. So I'm pulling out the feelings, right? And so when we're looking at balance, it's looking at how can I access those feelings even in the chaos of maybe when you're back at work and you're working long hours. How can you access those feelings of connection? For some people, it might be having a phone call with a loved one, because that's what can actually fit into the moments of their life. So it's figuring out, how do I access those feelings more? But that was a bit of a tangent.
No, but it's important because, on a day-to-day basis, like we're back at it, and I'm working and she's at school in Dalhousie and my youngest is at University of Ottawa, but we talk every day. So even though it's like 10 minutes, it's something that 10 minutes kind of recharges. So I think that's a good frame, because the equality of time doesn't equate the quality of the interaction. Listen, a lot of leaders are still coaching as something you turn to when things go wrong. Like that, you only coach like everything's fine, and if there's a problem, then you go to, well, we're going to have a coaching session, or people look for that coaching when something goes wrong. How do you reframe that? Because I mean, part of leadership, doesn't matter what you're doing, is coaching is part of what you do. It's learning and understanding who people are, how they interact, what it takes to motivate them. There's coaching in everything you do. So it shouldn't be seen as, and I guess this is where you take this, is it's not seen as a remedial thing. It's something you should be investing in all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And we both mentioned sports. It's that idea that the coach helps us be better. Mm-hmm. So it's not just when we're struggling or having a challenge. That certainly is a time when I have conversations with people, but it's also helping people to go to the next level. Being a person, and I'm sure you do this with your own team, being a person who maybe helps them see the blind spots that they're not seeing for themselves, shining the light where there could be more growth and development, maybe some reframing in their thinking. And so it's really about helping leaders to see that the people around them, I use the analogy of the onion a lot. We have so many layers, and there's so much opportunity for us to learn about ourselves. And as we learn and develop new habits and new strategies, we're that much better in the workplace for those leaders.
Well, and I mean, there's no I in team is an old one, but it's true. I mean, you can't do anything without that team members doing the work. So the Behind the Business podcast is made possible through the support of our title sponsor, Gore Mutual. Proudly Canadian, Gore Mutual has stayed true to one purpose for more than 185 years, insurance that does good. It's the reason they exist. They believe that when we focus on being good, doing good, and spreading good, we all thrive together. We're grateful for their continued commitment to our local communities and the positive impact they make every day. For more information, visit goremutual.ca. Listen, and I'm interested in this because I don't fully understand it. Your mission is so a goal or mission to inspire 100,000 people to embrace their worthiness. And I love it. But it's not a word that you would generally hear in business. Like if I think back and think of and there's been HR gobbledygook and coaching and stuff that some of it is like, oh my goodness. But in all my years, I've never heard it expressed that way. What is the concept of worthiness mean, or how do you flesh out what that means in the context of why it's important for leaders and teams today?
So think about the leadership team that you have around you. Any number of those people can be having thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough to speak up or to do this project, I'm not smart enough for this, I shouldn't really be here, I got here by accident or whatever. All of these inner dialogue moments that are suggesting they don't feel worthy of the moment, of the opportunity, and so on. And I can tell you that the majority of the leaders that I coach have this as one of their struggles, but it's not something that's spoken about around the boardroom table. It's not. So part of what I'm about is helping individuals. We're all humans at the end of the day, whether you're around this boardroom table or that one, right? And we do have a tendency, I'm generalizing here, but there is a large number of people who are struggling with these kinds of negative self-talk. Well, certainly something like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy is a significant contributor to lack of confidence.
I've put myself in this position, but a lot of times you hear people say, well, if you get the opportunity, just fake it till you make it. I'm not sure that's a great strategy. I mean, at some point everyone gets into a new position, and there is an element of, I don't know what I'm doing, because you really don't until you've taken a job. But if you've got the skills and you're moving in, into that, a lot of times you say, I'll get it. I can, in a minor way, for a short period of time, say I'm going to do more listening. I can fake it till I make it. But then I think there's others who would just really say, I just have no idea. Like, how did I end up here? Is that what you're talking about when they that worthiness part of saying, if it's less about the frequency of doing something, is like, can you golf? Well, if you've never golfed, sure, you can be on the golf course, but you're not going to be very good.
It's when they're beating themselves up.
Yeah.
And it's actually more about childhood stories that are coming up that are fueling this low self-worth, low self-esteem, beliefs that they're not worthy to be around the table. Or I coached an individual once who she had a client who she deemed to be quite, we'll call it impressive, a lot of high credentials. And she sat across from this individual, and for a time, until she got her act together, for a time she was questioning whether she was the right person for this individual, when all along she was. But she needed to work through that negative self-image.
I think lots of people have that, and I think it's important, and I think it's a different way of expressing it that is probably worth exploring. Listen, the coaching industry, and I don't know whether it's COVID or whether it's like anyone, like in many things, anyone can hang out a shingle.
Yeah.
But it certainly has the coaching industry in a lot of different ways, whether it's some sector specific or, sales coaching, because everything is in that context. How have you built the the credibility, I should say, and found your niche in a competitive field where your context of coaching is much more broad or holistic than what others might say? I can coach someone on the sales technique, as an example. Like, how are you going to close? Like, that is, you can certainly call that coaching, but it's a different type, or it's more narrow. How have you found that credibility in when there's lots of people saying they do coaching?
So I think one of the things that has helped build my credibility over time is that I keeping on. I've been around for 17 years. Yes, it started in wellness coaching, added life coaching, added executive coaching. All the while I had been coaching very high-level professionals, and within the last 5 years went and got the executive coaching certification. So I continued to up-level my certification skills and practice. I'm a big proponent of being in the state of practice. So continuing to make sure that I am also being evaluated to ensure that my coaching style and strategy is effective for the person across from me. Of course, I can see it in the client and the results that they're getting and the experience that they write. And I gather those testimonials for the social proof, obviously. But I'm also, as a part of the International Coaching Federation, in order to stay within that, you have to have mentors check in on your coaching style and ensure that you are following a set of guidelines and principles. So it is interesting that you can go and become a coach by buying a program for $25 off the internet. But I can tell you that with every single year, I'm continuing to up-level my skills. Last year, I spent the entire year learning Neuro-Linguistic programming and hypnosis. So I've added that entire body of work as part of what I now offer in a different format of coaching called breakthrough coaching. So I really do believe part of it is the keeping on factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As a woman in leadership and a business owner, and there is with every passing day, there are more women that are becoming business owners and entrepreneurs. What challenges have you faced in what is still, for the most part, a male-dominated space?
I think the biggest one is a gentleman taking credit for the work that I had done. Mm. And, as I was thinking about this question for myself, if a client had come to me and shared this, I think the coaching that I would give back to that person, and I'm giving to myself every time I talk as a coach, I'm speaking to myself as well, right?
Yeah.
And the coaching that I would give is, we have an opportunity to strengthen our own, I call it the celebration muscle, to strengthen our own confidence in knowing who we are and what we bring to the table, and being our own advocate, our own cheerleader in these moments. And sometimes things happen. And in this particular instance, it was a really great learning opportunity for me to grow as a human. And in some of the crappy moments in our life, this is the place where we have an opportunity to turn and look towards learning.
And that's the advice you would give to, if you were coaching someone, is that, and I hear you saying is you're giving yourself that same advice?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. You've worked with organizations across the country, so you're in 17 years. I'm sure you'd have a long list of folks in different sectors and certainly across the region. I'm interested in when you see the landscape of no different for us. I mean, I know chamber leaders and chambers right across the country. I'm always interested in how we stack up as a region. Again, in that context, how does Waterloo Region stack up in terms of culture and innovation and and that leadership mindset?
Yeah, from what I've seen personally, I'm really impressed. So leadership mindset, the leaders are investing in growth opportunities for their staff, for their teams. They're bringing in people like myself for coaching. They're having workshops. They're developing and investing in their people. We know that Waterloo Region is a hub for innovation and for tech, and that absolutely is the case with new businesses starting all of the time here, and businesses staying because we have such awesome resources, including places like the Chamber for these companies. So I think we're doing a really great job here in Waterloo Region.
Good. It's good to know, because it's a very competitive landscape, not only within Canada but globally. So being at the forefront of lots of things, including on the people side, is important. Listen, we're almost out of time. We could keep talking, and we could go off down many rabbit holes. However, we're gonna start to wrap up. You've already made a significant impact through your coaching and speaking and the Power of the People Pleasers podcast. So I'd be pleased to come on your podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a reciprocal thing. But what's next for you and for Ballantyne Coaching?
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be offering more in-person trainings. So coming up, there's hypnosis certification trainings, a breakthrough boot camp, helping people to unlock in a far bigger way than a typical goal-setting training offers. And I'm really excited to be a part of the innovation concept and adopting AI, and individuals can have me as a coach in their pocket coming soon with a new avatar. So I'm very, very excited for that.
Well, AI, we could spend a whole show on that, because that is going to there's going to be coaching required on how to use AI, and for every size and every sector, every job is going to be, AI is certainly changing things. So I'll look forward to watching that. Listen, at the this podcast is as much about hearing the stories of business leaders. But as much as anything, it is about leadership, and so I always ask the same set of questions, because I'm always there's no right or wrong answers here, but it's always interesting to hear what I don't know how many we've done of these, probably 30 or 40 podcasts. Everyone takes a different, the question rings different in their own head, and how they respond is different. So, in our rapid fire questions, if I was to say, what would you tell your younger self? What would that be?
It would be to trust your intuition, and my ability to connect to my emotions is a superpower. It's a strength, and that is my emotional guidance system guiding me to the things that I'm meant to do.
What or who inspires you the most?
My kids. I absolutely believe 100% that they were sent to me so I could learn a variety of lessons, many lessons. I continue.
Yeah, they challenge us, and they force us to learn lessons, don't they?
Yes, and for me to teach them. So it's this beautiful synergy.
Okay, if you weren't in your current career, I mean, that's hard to, after this conversation, hard to imagine that. But if you weren't in your current career, what would you be doing instead?
Part of me would say a teacher, but I already feel like I do that. But someone said to me recently, you should be an officiant of weddings. So that might actually happen someday. We'll see.
I can tell you that I've done one for a friend, even though it's not official, because I'm not officiant. You would be great at doing that. So you can add that as a sideline, right? Like it's just one more thing to add to the table.
Yes.
It's interesting. I'm always fascinated by this, the way people answer. What book are you reading, or which podcast are you into right now? And you can't say your own, and you can't say business behind the business podcast. Although I know that's one that you listen to. Yes. But what else would you be reading or listening to?
Yes. So there's two books. One is Lessons in Chemistry, so it's a fun read.
Lessons in Chemistry.
It's a fun read. There's maybe a Netflix show about it too. There's a series on it.
Oh yes, okay. Now I know what you like.
But it's there's an incredible paragraph at the end of the book that I almost brought to read to you because it is so good. Anyhow, the other book is How to Get Anything You Want by Elsie Lincoln Benedict. So.
Okay, I'm going to have to. I've watched the series. I'll have to read the book.
The book is quite good. Yeah.
Okay, and what is we just keep it local? What is one of your favorite local businesses here in Waterloo Region?
Oh my goodness! So when I invest time into just having Amy time, I go to Angel Treasures in St. Jacobs.
Wow,
it is one of my favorite places in this region.
Have to check that out when we're up to visiting our friends at Home Hardware.
Yeah.
Okay, and just as we wrap up, so people can, because you're a fascinating conversation we've had. I'm sure lots of people want to reach out to you. What's the best place for any of our listeners or those listening to the podcast or listening online to connect with you and learn more about your work?
If individuals are on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with them there. I'm also on Instagram as well, and my website, amyballantyne.com.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. One of the most valuable commodities that leaders and entrepreneurs have is time. So thank you for sharing some of yours with me.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Business, proudly presented by Gore Mutual, insurance that does good. New episodes drop every Thursday, so be sure to tune in next week. You can also visit greaterkwchamber.com to catch up on past episodes anytime. We'll see you next time as we continue to go Behind the Business.